Hello and welcome to MPB's ACT Bootcamp for the math portion. I am Ms. Gillen. I'm here to make sure that you get the best possible ACT math score that you can get. So we are diving into lesson 12. We're looking at questions 36 through 40. We've all got a few more to go for the question portion. So here we go. So we're looking at question 36 and it says, during a particular experiment, two events, A and B, can each occur. Event A and B are mutually exclusive during the experiment. Which of the following probability is 0? Now, we need to remember what it means to be mutually exclusive. That means they can't happen at the same time. A can happen and B can happen, but they cannot happen at the same time. So that's what we're looking at. So what I want to do is show you how to write this. I want to find the probability of A and B. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the probability of both of these. Now, it says that A can happen and B can happen. But when it says mutually exclusive, and I'm having to look to see how these words are written, they cannot happen. So then, what is the probability equaling 0? It's going to be for those two to happen at the exact same time. So that's it. That's how we answer that portion of that question. All right, so let's look at our next one while I erase this. And I'm going to put these to the side for a few minutes. All right, so the next one says, excuse me, the polynomial function defined by p of x equals x to the third plus x squared minus 8x minus 12 has x minus 3 as one of its linear factors. Excuse me. What are all and only the zeros of p? Sorry, this board is not wanting to erase for a while. All right, so what are we going to do? Obviously, we know that one of our factors. So it says that one of our factors is x minus 3, and we want to know what that 0 is. So we're going to get x by itself by doing opposite operation. So one of my zeros is a positive 3. So by elimination, I know that A cannot be my answer and B cannot be my answer. So then you're sitting here going, well, what are my next ones? Now, we can do all the math, this, that, and the other, but there is an easier way that we've learned to do this. We're going to pull up our calculator. We're going to go to y equals, and we're going to plug that in. So let me scoot this over so we could possibly, all right. So I am putting x to the third, and then I'm going to put plus x squared. Then I'm going to put minus 8x minus 12. All right, now you could graph this, no problem. Let's look at this. So when I graph it, I see that it hits or touches what? Here and here. So what I want us to look at is where I have my zeros. All right, where I have a number and 0, right? Is that how we write it? So then I have second graph, and I see right from the front 3, 0. So when I scroll down, I'm getting larger and larger and larger for my y variables. So let's go back the other way. So I see what? Oh, negative 2. So x is also going to be a negative 2. So you're telling me, Ms. Killen, sometimes I don't always have to do the math? No. You are given the calculator. Let's go ahead and use that skill. So we know A and B can't be my answer. So I have a positive 2 and 3. Well, if we look, positive 2 was nowhere near shape, form, or fashion of 0, but what? Negative 2 was. So my answer is what? It is C. Good job. All right. So let's go to our next one while I erase the board. All right, so let's go ahead and read it. It says, Jonathan rode his bike every day for 18 days. The table shows each of the distances he rode. The table also shows the number of days he rode each of those distances, and we see that table. It's always important to go ahead and analyze that table. See what the columns mean. See what the rows mean. Make sure that you're understanding what each portion of that table or graph that you're given represents. So then my question says, after we have distance in miles and number of days, what is the median daily distance in miles that Jonathan rode his bike for the 18 days? Now, we got to remember, what does median mean? It's the middle, right? All right, so this is what I would suggest. Now, there is a calculator skill, but it's in depth. So let me show you what I have. He rode 1 mile, 2 days. 1 day, 2 days. Then he rode 3 miles, 4 days. 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 days. He rode 4 miles, 3 days. 1, 2, 3. Then he rode 5 miles, 6 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then for 3 days, he went 7 miles. 1, 2, 3. Now, this is the way that I like to do. I go mark one for one side, one for the other. So I'm marking this and this one and this one, this one and this one, 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 this one. I have 2 left in the middle. So how do I find the middle of those 2? I get the average. 4 plus 5 is 9. Divided by 2, I get 4.5. And is that part of my answer? Yep. So my answer is J. That is the median of that data. Good job, guys. All right, so let's look at the next one. It says, a tourist organization randomly selected 100 tourists finishing their summer visits to Spain. The organization asked them how many cities they had toured in the country. The table shows the results based on this data. It should be this data. For the population for tourists that visited Spain during the summer, what is the best estimate of the mean number of cities toured? Okay, so you may be thinking, how am I going to work this problem? Well, I need to remember what mean means. All right, so when we're talking about the mean of something, we're looking at the average is what we're looking at. We're looking at our average. Remember, when we find an average, we add all of them up and divide by how many we added up, right? So that's our mean. Now, what we have here is a wonderful example of how our calculator skills will come into play. Now, when we look at this, I'm going to have to show you what all of these symbols mean, and sooner or later, either in your ACT testing or your different algebra classes or mathematical classes you'll see these different examples. So I want you to know that all of these different examples with the different symbols on the calculator is going to be very relevant and sooner or later when you take something in these math courses. So I want to go ahead and pull up this calculator. Let me see if I can move this calculator over, and I do not know why it won't let me move the calculator over, but it's being crazy. All right, so anyway, we're going to have to go back down and find the calculator that we're using. There it is. So here it is. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I am going to see exactly what it wants. And it's telling me that it wants to find the mean of all of these different cities that's done. So I'm going to plug this into my calculator. So the first thing I'm going to do is go and put in my list. All right. So we're going to go to second list. We're going to go to our list, which is in our stats, and we're going to edit that first list. So I'm going to make this a little bigger so I can get to it. There we go. So I'm going to go to stat and pull up this list by editing. Now my L1 are going to be my cities. So I have 1, enter. And I still cannot move this. Okay, having technical difficulties, I had to move the calculator. So here we go. So what we have is we have the number of cities of 1. We have 1, enter. Then we have what? 2. And we have 3. That's in our first list. Now, our second list is going to be the number of tourists. So let's go ahead and put 10, enter. We have 40, enter. And we have 50, enter. All right. So now we have both of those lists. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to stat. I am going to scroll over to my calculate or calc, and now we're looking at one variable statistics. So this is a statistics problem. So we're looking at that one variable. So I'm going to press number 1. Now, I want to use list 1. I want to go with the frequency of 1, and then I want to whoops, sorry, hit the wrong button. So let's go back down to enter, and I want to scroll down. Sorry. All right, so I also want to have that frequency list is going to be my L2. Notice my L2 is over 2. So here we go. I have put in my data. I've made the table. Now I've asked it to do my my 5 number summary on here, which it always gives me more than just the 5 numbers. But they do have all this information. See, there's our min, there's our Q1, there's our median, Q3, and our max. So I'm wanting to get my mean. Now, when we have this list of numbers plus this list of symbols, I need to know which one is the mean. So when I see that representation, that symbol, that is the mean. So what is the mean of this data? It's 2.4. So obviously C is my answer. Now remember, I went to stat, I edited my to list, then I went back to stat and over to calculate to get that one variable statistic. I have my list 1, and the frequency list, meaning how many times that list number 1 happened, is my list 2. We found list 2 in blue over the second or the number 2 button. And then I went down to calculate, and it gave me all the information that we can possibly have on this data set. And we have that 2.4 is our mean. So good job. So let me go ahead and get that out of the way, and then we're going to go to our last one of this lesson, which is question 40. So let's go ahead and read it. It says, given the equation 4 roots of x equals y, where y is a real number, what must be true of x? X is what? All right, so we have a possible, an even real number, a rational number, an integer, a non-negative real number. Now, we know that when we take the square roots of even numbers, we get a number, okay? So when we take an odd root, we could possibly get a what? A negative number. So I have my odd roots, and I have my even roots. Now, when I take an odd root, I can have a negative number. But when I take an even root, I'm going to always have that positive number. Well, Ms. Keller, how do you know that? All right, let's look. Negative times a negative times a negative. Negative times negative is positive. Positive times negative is negative. Negative times a negative equals a positive. All right, Ms. Killen, but what about if we had 5? Negative times negative times negative times negative 1, 2, 3, 4 times negative. This is positive. This is positive. But this is still negative. So I'm always going to have that negative for my odd roots. Now, even if I had 6, negative times negative times negative times negative, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, positive, 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 I'm still going to have a positive number. So that's something that we need to know. When I have an even root, always going to be a positive. When I have an odd root, always going to be a negative. Now, what if I have, what? Of the negative. Remember, when we take a root of a negative, what do we get? We get that I. Well, it's saying that they are real numbers. So I know what is under this root sign has to be a real number, and it has to be a non-negative real number. So then what is my only possible answer? It's going to be J. Good job. So sometimes just remembering all those different concepts that we've learned over our courses is going to help us. We don't necessarily have to have a number to work math. Sometimes they ask about those concepts or those essential skills that we should have learned. Now, we are almost at the end of the questions portion of this program. So after we get through with all 45 questions, then we're going to go into some strategic ways to answer maybe questions we don't understand or we have not learned that concept yet. So remember, I am Ms. Killen here to make sure that you get the best possible ACT score for the math portion. And always, always, always practice, practice, practice. We'll see you later.